Everyone, my name is Jean Yang. So welcome to Live It Up. This is a career foundation that promotes career advices from different kind of business leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs. So you can live up to your career expectation, become the best you want to be, and make your inspiration your reality. Now today we have Edmund Chien. He'll be able to come here today and talk to us about his career expertise. Thank you very much for coming today, Edmund.
You're welcome.
So Edmund, in a brief 2 to 3 sentence, can you tell us what do you do?
Well, I'm an advisor at Sunlight Financial, which is a client-facing role, and I take on my own clients, and my expertise is high net worth clients and clients that also are business clients as well. So clients that are entrepreneurs, people that are starting out a business, all the way to people that want to sell a business. So anywhere from, and I help them through business development. I help my clients through business development.
Oh wow, that's very interesting as a portfolio. Now I want to bring back a little bit concerning, I read about you being a paratrooper in the past in the Canadian Armed Force. Now can you tell us a little bit, why did you choose to become a paratrooper?
Well, I thought it would be exciting. It's an interesting experience, and I didn't join the military I joined the military to do something that was challenging, and I felt that was something that would be incredibly challenging, and might as well go and experience that type of event and learn from there some of the skills that you can gain from that type of experience.
And do you mind explaining to the audience a little bit what is a paratrooper, just so we have a detailed understanding of what it is?
Sure. A paratrooper is more than just an infantry soldier. An infantry soldier is what everybody expects, is a combat arms individual in the trenches. What a paratrooper is a little bit beyond that. They're considered slightly elite to that, and what they would do is they're supposed to be shock troops. So a paratrooper is a soldier that jumps out of an airplane well behind enemy lines and attacks the enemy from behind, and it's supposed to be a surprise attack. So one of the things I really liked about that is the mystique that surrounds the airborne. They call it the airborne mystique, and it surrounds paratroopers, and they walk with a little bit more confidence. When a paratrooper walks in the room, everybody goes quiet and kind of whispers about that person. It's like, that's kind of cool. I wouldn't mind being one of those, and maybe I should try that.
So Edmund, can you tell us the first time when you jumped out of that plane? How did it feel inside?
Well, as you can imagine, it can be scary for as you think about that type of exercise or doing something like that. But believe it or not, before you even get in the military, before you even get on a plane, you go through 3 weeks of intensive training. And in that 3 weeks of intensive training, you just go over and over, and they repeat all the different skills that you need in order to successfully jump out of a plane and survive. So there's 3 weeks of workup training, and in that 3 weeks worth of workup training, the entire course or the entire group keep going through this over and over till it becomes muscle memory. So it's repetition. The military is very good at repetition, so that when you actually get to the real event, it's second nature by that point. And it's an interesting point, and that's how I translate a lot of skills, or how do you have a lot of confidence in the business world. A lot of it comes down to repetition, sticking with it, and continue to repeat. And a lot of it, things like visualization, visualize certain events, visualize public speaking before you even get there. So the more times that you can repeat and go through that experience, the better you can become at it, the more confident you can be at it.
Could you apply that to the sales force? For example, you are in the sales field. Can you give us 3 of these components that could help you become a better sales?
Well, 3 components in sales, or 3 things that you have to know. And there's so many different sales techniques that you can use. So if I were to pick one that would be very valuable, and there's many I can choose from, but if I were to pick 3 elements that are important in sales, which are also important in business, is to borrow from Sun Tzu. So Sun Tzu, The Art of War, has a concept in it, which is know yourself, know your competitor, or know the enemy, and know the terrain. So in sales, what we say is you have to know yourself, which is you have to know your own character, that's one, but you also have to know your own product line. You have to be very good at knowing your own product line. But at the same time, you have to know your competitor's product line as well. And then the third is when we talk about terrain. Terrain is really the clients that you would be taking on, or your prospects. You have to know what they want, what are they looking for, and it comes down to empathy. Can you understand where their point of view is? So if you can understand these 3 points, Sun Tzu says if you only know one of these points, you only have success 1/3 of the time. If you know 2 of those elements, you have success 2/3 of the time. If you know all 3 of them, it's very unlikely that you will fail. So that's where in sales, that's one of the core concepts that I would teach. Make sure that you know yourself, know our product line, know the competitor's product line, know the competitor's product line well, but also know the people that you're talking to and what do they want, and how can you offer that to them better than you could do that for your competitor or from your competitor.
Wow, this is very powerful, especially you got the extra from Sun Tzu. I mean, this is very inspiring, and it could bring a lot to a lot of
Concerning
our
that
audience.
position.
As a paratrooper, what kind of add-on, did it teach you something about your career in sales? Did it have some added value?
Absolutely. It taught me how to go a little bit beyond and be more elite than the average person. Push yourself, because you can always be better, and you always want to be better than or your peers, or try to strive to be. How can you just be a slightly better than your peers? And what does that entail, and what do you have to do in order to get that? Because you can't just demand respect out of people. There has to have some substance to what you do in order to get that type of the type of perception from people.
Now, as a leader yourself, can you tell us how do you motivate your peers or your subordinate? How do you make them energized and motivated to work under you?
Well, a lot of it is I look for core skills in people, or a core attitude with people that are just very motivated and want to succeed. So I look for core passion. But the good element of a leader is to be able to direct that passion and be able to draw that out of people as well. So a big part of that is, I think really what people are looking to do is looking to be challenged. And one of the things as a strong leader would be able to go in and be able to look at somebody that's new that you're working with and be able to realize where their limits are. And what you want to do, and this is something that we taught in the military. I was a boot camp instructor in the military, and one of the things that you do is you have to analyze, and it's an intuition where you take a look, you take an individual and figure out where their limit is, and you set a goal that's slightly beyond that limit for them, and you empower them and encourage them and push them to exceed that limit where in their mind, what their personal limit is, and you push them just beyond that limit, and then they light up because they've been able to do something further than what they expected they could do. And once they've been able to get to that point, you set a new limit to them that's a little bit out of their reach again, and you continually do that over and over and over again, and that's how you really build a person up.
So it builds a lot of muscle strength within them also.
It's not more than just muscle strength, and that's a good analogy to use. So when you're weight training, you push yourself to a limit, and you always want to increase the weight that you're putting on somebody to build them up physically. That's a great analogy for what you do from somebody's skill set. So if you're into the corporate world, what are some skills that you want to push out of somebody and help them learn? But it's the same time, it's those skills that you want to build upon, and you always want to keep people challenged. I think really that's how people excel, and that's how you keep morale high, is by challenging people and helping those people meet those challenges and exceed those personal limits that they have.
Can you provide us with an example that you managed to bring your peer up to a new level, whether it could be life or work experience?
There's a number of different examples that I've done both in the corporate world and in the military. It started from the military, and it's really the military that trained me on how to do that. So when you do that on a recruit course or a boot camp, essentially, you're doing that with everybody, and you're pushing them, and you tell them, we are going to do this. And you look at their faces, and they have no idea how they could possibly be able to do that. But you have the confidence to say, well, I will show you how the 7 or 8 of you will be able to accomplish this. And it's well beyond what the group of them think that they can achieve. But you start to build them up, and you start to empower them to do that. So it's a leader that provides that little bit of that thing that we call becoming better than the sum of their parts. There's that term, how to become better than the sum of our parts. So if you were to put people together, and it's important into the corporate world as well, when you have each individual, and they all have a limit, but when you put them all together, they can become stronger than each individual's ability. So that's how you can add things like 1 + 1 = 4. It's because of you as a leader be able to draw them out and be able to push them together and be able to train them up in such a way where they become more than the sum of their parts. I've done that in the military, and I do that in the corporate world as well.
Wow, this is really beautiful and very inspiring. Now, my one last question is, for the young professionals out there, they always want to know, how should I climb up the corporate ladder? It is very important to them, and the young generation are very ambitious, which is a lovely thing to have. So, Edmund, can you enlighten us on that?
One of the things that I look for in individuals, employees, team members, and when I try to motivate other people is, it all comes down to where is your center. If you are a self-centered person and you only look to improve your own life, that's not a position, or that's not a person, in my view, that will have long-term success. And it doesn't work in the military, and it doesn't work in the corporate world, in my view. You can get away with it for a little while. I'm sure a lot of people have tried to get away with it. You will not get away with it on my team. In my teams, which are more elite teams, one of the things about being a paratrooper is you will not survive as a paratrooper only focusing on yourself. The only way that we can keep each other safe is that they force you to look to the guy in front of you, look to the guy behind you, and the jump master is always looking after you. And it only works when we all have a center that's not on ourselves. It's an other-centered person. That's the type of teams that I build in the corporate world as well. If you have a corporation that's only concerned about itself and only concerned about building money and never giving back to the community, that's where it's going to start falling down, and it doesn't resonate with the world today. Really what it comes down to is I look for people that want to be net givers. Are you a net giver? Do you give out more than you take? And it doesn't mean that you don't take. It just means, are you a person that gives out more than you take? That's the question I would like to ask. And I like to see a lot of people that are incredibly motivated, but at the same time have a center that is not within themselves.
Oh my God, this is really beautiful and very powerful. I must say, it brings so much to become a giver than a taker. So if you would like to learn more about Edmund, so come to our January Live It Up event. So it will talk about the power of networking. So you want to distinguish yourself from the crowd, you know who to ask. It's going to be with Edmund, and I will have his email address written at the bottom of this video. If you want to learn more about Live It Up, I will also leave the website at the below of the video. So thank you very much. Have a good night.